Hey, how's it going, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is 3 Buck Theater. And there was an interesting piece of information that dropped concerning Spider-Man Homecoming over the course of the weekend. And it all has to do with Drax the Destroyer himself, Dave Bautista. And he was talking with Chris Jericho on his podcast about what he loves about Guardians of the Galaxy and other MCU movies and his excitement for Spider-Man Homecoming that prompted him to say this. Spider-Man is the one I'm really looking forward to. I love that kid. I love Tom Holland. I also love that they're staying so true to the comics with this whole series, and I think that's because Marvel Studios has gotten involved. I think before, it was Sony who had control, and I think they're doing a partnership now, but I think they will, I don't know this for sure, but I think they're going to reacquire Spider-Man. Now, that little statement right there has gotten fans very much abuzz, with discussions about whether or not this will actually be reality, whether or not Sony will relinquish the rights to Spider-Man back to Marvel. Now, this is where things get tricky, because you have to go back to the whole scenario of how Spider-Man came to the MCU in the first place. Now, if you remember correctly, after The Amazing Spider-Man 2 failed to perform to Sony's expectations, crossing $1 billion because $709 million just wasn't enough, they were in talks very briefly with Kevin Feige. Now, this would be Amy Pascal and Kevin Feige discussing whether or not to integrate Spider-Man back to the MCU. And the conversations died. Negotiations died. It just wasn't happening. And I think part of that reason why it wasn't happening is it has a lot to do with Ike Perlmutter. Perlmutter being the head honcho of Marvel out of New York, right around that same time is when they were gearing up to start making Captain America Civil War. And that was when there was a lot of stuff happening with Marvel, where Kevin Feige basically walked in and said, hey man, listen, I'm going to quit unless we do something about this. And Bob Iger and the guys at Disney basically gave Marvel Studio to Kevin Feige and let Ike Perlmutter handle the TV side of things. And ever since then, there's been a rift. I talked a bit about that yesterday in my video about Kevin Feige, Marvel crossover TV movies and shit. So you have that. So when that was the whole thing was going on, the conversations were dead. Then there was the Sony hack where we got all those emails. And in the emails, we found out that they had talked about bringing over Spider-Man. Now, when that happened, I said, point blank, I have a video on the other channel about this, that they're going to have to do it, that the demand will be so high that they will have no choice but to make this deal. And given how Sony was acting when it came to Spider-Man, trying to set up their own cinematic universe with the Sinister Six and everything at the time, and how that was all falling apart, it made sense. Now, when we got the confirmation of this, Sony hasn't really had a big hit in terms of their films in a while. They really haven't. And even this year, they are not looking like they have a lot of big stuff coming out. Over the course of the summer, they've got Spider-Man, clearly. They've got The Dark Tower. And they've got the Emoji Movie. Now, The Dark Tower looks interesting, but it looks like an overproduced adaptation of a Stephen King novel, which could be good or bad. But it will probably be PG-13, aimed for the middle audience of people, and it won't stay true to the books. And it already hasn't stayed true to the books by casting Idris Elba as the gunslinger. Mostly that has to do with character interactions based on race and further books and how it's going to fuck everything up. And trust me, talk to any Dark Tower fan and they're going to be like super pissed off about it. Not because they don't like Idris Elba, because it wasn't true to the book. So there's that. You've also got the Emoji Movie, which unless it's something as spectacular as, let's say, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs in terms of just kind of wowing audiences, I don't know if that's going to do as well as they want. Yeah, emojis are kind of a big thing. And I really like the trailer with Stephen Wright because I thought that's really funny. And then I also like the fact that Patrick Stewart is voicing the shit emoji. I just don't know if it's going to connect in the way that they want. Smurfs The Lost Village came out last month. It tanked pretty hard. Not a lot of people went to go see it. So Sony and their animated stuff right now is not doing as well as they want. But when it comes to Spider-Man, those are like the 3 summer movies. Spider-Man, Dark Tower, Emoji. And if they don't knock those out of the park, Columbia Pictures, which is the subsidiary of Sony that makes films, is in dire fucking straits. Now, there's been rumors that Sony's been looking to sell off Columbia Pictures because right now the only division of Sony that's currently profitable is PlayStation, right? It's the only division of Sony that's profitable. And so they might be looking to kind of sell off the movie studio. And it's not that Disney would come in and buy it. Disney might come in and buy it. That's the thing. Now, going back, just because I need to jump back a little bit, when the Sony hack happened and all that information came out about Spider-Man, there's also a little bit of information there as well. And that was Amy Pascal and Michael Linton sending some not racially sensitive emails back and forth about the president. And that, on top of the hack and all that other information coming out, basically led to Amy Pascal stepping down and Tom Rothman being promoted or being brought in to take over Sony, at least Columbia Pictures. Now, Amy Pascal, though, she didn't just kind of go away, which would have been nice. She didn't. She was able to finagle the deal with Marvel for Spider-Man in order to keep her job. And she created her own little side company and was able to use that as a way to keep that bridge going. But now I think Amy Pascal is getting a little bit, what's the word I want to use here, comfortable. We've heard about the Venom movie, the hard R Venom movie coming in 2018, the Silver Sable Black Cat movie coming as well. We know that Sony is very much trying to expand upon their rights in terms of the characters that they own. They want to make these movies because they want to capitalize on the success that's going to come from having Spider-Man in the MCU. And as I've called it before, Sony's MCU, running ancillary or parallel to the Marvel Studios MCU. And that's going to be a thing. But that might not be happening, especially if Columbia Pictures is in that dire straits and they don't get a couple good hits on their hand. Because keep in mind that when it came to Sony and their profits last year, there was like a $980 million write-off from Columbia Pictures. They lost Sony $1 billion last year almost. And that is not something you walk away from. Heads will roll, one of the reasons why Michael Linton is leaving the company. So you have that. Then you've got Marvel definitely wanting to get their hands on Spider-Man. They've already got back the merchandising rights. You probably didn't know that, did you? Happened a couple years ago. Sony was in some serious shit and needed to make some capital. So instead of selling back Disney or Marvel or whoever the rights to the films, they sold the merchandising rights for Spider-Man back to Marvel, which is one of the reasons why you now see a lot of Spider-Man merchandise, because Marvel and Disney are going to be putting that stuff out there because they own the rights to it. And if Sony is in dire straits again, they might sell off Columbia Pictures in order to, make up the profit loss. And it's just interesting to see this situation kind of come around, because in the late 90s, when Marvel was almost at death's door and they were selling off movie rights to everything that they had in order to stay afloat, Sony came in, or Columbia came in and purchased Spider-Man. And now we're at a situation where kind of the tables have turned and they might have to sell it back in order to make some money. Now, I don't think they would sell off Spider-Man directly. I don't think they would. I think it would be a wholesale purchase of Columbia Pictures. But this is where things do get a little bit tricky, because if it does open up a bidding war for Columbia Pictures, Disney may not legally be able to purchase that. Now, this is pure speculation, and I don't know for certain. But there might be FTC violations there. They don't want to create a monopoly. There are 6 major studios: Disney, Columbia, Lionsgate, Warner Brothers, Paramount, and there's one that I'm forgetting, Universal. Those are the 6 main studios right now. Disney, if it purchases Columbia, then would have that entire library. And just imagine an actual good Ghostbusters movie to come out of a Disney-produced thing. So what I'm wondering, though, is if Amy Pascal is going to maybe try to facilitate the sale. Because think of it like this. And this, again, pure speculation. And I'm kind of, this is like such a long discussion about like just a little bit of information here. But here's kind of what I'm thinking. Amy Pascal is the one talking about the Silver Sable and Venom films, right? And she wants to make those. The thing is, though, if they're not in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, no one wants it, right? No one does. No one thinks a Venom movie on its own is going to work unless you have it tied into Spider-Man, right? So you've got that. But what if these movies are actually being propped up to fail, right? What if these movies are being propped up to fail so that they cost the company so much money on this risky gamble, and then there's Amy saying, hey, why don't we negotiate a sale to Marvel. And then she could be aboard with that, bring her little production company with her over into the Marvel banner and work over there where her job is going to be effectively safe. Now, that's a long con, and I don't know if it's any bit true, but it's where my mind takes me. And if it is, man, hey, that's a smart play from Pascal. But I don't know. Kevin Feige seems like he wants to protect her from what I've seen. So they'd go back a ways, I think, because he was actually getting coffee, I think, on for the producers of the first Spider-Man movie. So he's got a long list of that stuff with like Avi Arad and all those people. Now he's above them. So there might be some loyalty there. There might be some loyalty there, and he might want to protect her. And that might be her thinking as a way to play it like a game of 4D chess to position herself to go with Spider-Man being reacquired by Marvel. Because right now, Marvel's got the money to do it. Right? Or if Disney wanted to buy Columbia just to get Spider-Man, they might pay out $4 billion like they did for Marvel back in 2010 and Lucasfilm back in 2012. And it's been almost 5 years since any other major acquisition, and coming after Columbia could be the way to do it. But this has gone on for a while, and there's a lot that always happens with this particular type of situation. And this is a lot of speculation. Nothing is set in stone. I don't know everything. I will fully admit that, but this is what I know and what I'm thinking. But I want to know your guys' thoughts on this. Let me know in the comments below. Do you think that Marvel will eventually reacquire the rights to Spider-Man? Do you think that it's a careful ploy by Amy Pascal to not only save her job, but save her career? These are things I'm curious about. Go ahead and write them down in the comments below. My name is, of course, Matt Jarbo. You've been listening to 3 Buck Theater. I will talk to you guys later. Have yourself a fantastic day, and peace out.